Welcome to Research and Development, where we work for a better tomorrow. Today's overview is on Nebula Sanctum's raised constructors used in the production of rods, plates, and screws.
Welcome to Tomorrow, Today. Let's get started.
For my raised constructor design, I wanted to keep with more of a raised style and to allow for the showcasing of products on the forward face here that you can see. So I've put the constructors behind these frame walls and have elevator lifts that go down to mergers to allow for the lifts to display the products forward facing, as you can see here. It's designed for a 3x4 footprint for a Mark I blueprinter, like most of my other Mark I designs, and you can expand it out to a 6x4 by putting these back to back to make for a wide central walkway. There's a catwalk behind the machines that would allow you to access your machines for configurations, etc. And also down below this is a separate logistics level, which is lit by these organizational signs in the same blue color. The capacities really change depending on what you're trying to make. Rods have different capacities versus plates versus screws, and I'm using this for overall just for my ironworks, but you could use it for copper or anything else too, whatever a constructor is used for. Let's get into logistics. The material is brought in on the back side, where you have the elevator lifts that bring the product to be transformed into the constructor. And this whole area has some walkways so you can view your product going up into the constructor. And then on the output side, you have the elevator lifts that bring down the constructed part into mergers, which then can be delivered out into the area that you want to deliver the stuff to. This one's ending up going that way. Now, these are both set up to be a manifold design, so everything coming in from this side is being split into each one of these 4 lifts going up, and then you can add on another blueprint to the end, and that will just be manifold all the way down. And if you brought the same on the other side of this to make your 1 meter wide or your 1 foundation wide walkway, then you can manifold it back down the other way. I don't have a mirrored version of this if you wanted to do more of a hybrid manifold style delivery system. And then it's the same for product coming out here too. So you have, this would be manifolded together, and you could have it loop down here at the end and manifold all the way out to the other end to have 1 delivery point. I've tried to hide, but not really hide my logistics. I like to separate them so you can really concentrate on the design and the flow of the material coming in. Bringing in the backlit panels label signs here that would give some glow and not so much of a really warm light back here. And then same thing for the front. Over on this walkway, these are hidden down towards the bottom, but you still get a glimpse of them through the modern railing system and to see your parts coming out. The wiring on this blueprint is pretty simple. There's a painted beam that runs underneath the catwalk, which not only provides wiring access, but gives a look and feel of having the catwalk being supported by a painted beam. And then the wiring is just run with wall sockets or wall outlets for each of these constructors, with a wire going up to each one. There's no special lighting in this one. It's a little bit more of an ambient light with the lit panels in the front. I have 3 different walkways in this blueprint. The first one is the catwalk, which allows access to the back of the machines, back of your constructors. And you can bridge these together as you build onto different blueprints. And these also will allow catwalk stairs to go down to your factory floor. Or you can bridge them together side by side once you have these back to back. Down below this is the logistics level, with a half pipe design and a lit panel on the top, label sign on the top. And then that gives you access to view your product going into your constructors. Down underneath here is continuation of the half pipe. It's not really used for a walkway. It's purely for aesthetic reasons. So those two walkways, and then the third access is the main factory floor, where you can get a glimpse of your product being produced in the constructors and get a view for how they are being transported out of your factory to the next layer.
But how does it work?
Good question, Ada. Let me show you. So here in my little demo area, I'm going to bring in some blueprints and show you how they're all hooked together. All right, so I'm going to bring in 4 blueprints to show how these all work together. I'm just going to line them up next to each other and back to back, or front to front, however you view these. And I like to use my lock hologram key a lot just to make sure that I've got these set where I want them. So sometimes, you know, you got them right where you want it, and you can just click it in. So with 4 of these, depending on what you're making, and these I use for my ironwork, so rods, plates, and screws, your capacity is going to be different. So for rods, per blueprint with 4 constructors running at anything non-overclocked, I'm going to be making 60 iron rods per blueprint, requiring 60 iron ingots. If I expand this out to 4 blueprints like I have in my factories, then I'll be making 240 iron rods and consuming 240 iron ingots. Plates, it's a little bit different. Per blueprint, I'll have 80 plates per blueprint, which requires 120 iron ingots. And expanding that out to all 4 of these would be 320 iron plates per 4, and then consuming 480 iron ingots. And I designed it that way because I'm only at Mark 4 belts, so you could definitely expand it out depending on what you're making. And then just to round that out for screws, you can make 160 screws per blueprint, which only requires 40 iron rods per minute, but that expands out to 640 screws per minute with all 4 of these running and consuming 160 iron rods per minute. And actually in my factory, I do have the same style here, but I have them underclocked so that I'm only producing 480 screws per minute, just to keep it nice and tidy with the belts that I have. So depending on what you're making, it's going to change your capacities. I mean, you can make copper, sheets, and other stuff in constructors too, but I have this really geared more towards iron. So once you have these all constructed in, you need to hook up the different blueprints. Logistics, you need to find the one that's in the middle, and this blueprint has a painted beam in the middle that'll separate the 2 out, and you see there's no logistics conveyor here. You're probably going to want to also upgrade these conveyor belts depending on what you're producing. These are all just set to Mark 1. So for a demo, you can just go ahead and put them together. So I got the delivery side. Now here's the material delivery side. Now here's the product delivery side, all underneath this walkway. Easy access. It's open enough to get everything into place. Now you also have to bring in connect the 2 sides together here too. So I'm just going to do that with a belt just like this for demo. You can bring this out if you want these to show through, like over to from the center kind of thing. And then you can bring this material delivery right here, something like that. So that is how you pretty easily connect your logistics together. Wiring is the same thing. Find the middle of the blueprints where you've connected 2 blueprints together, and you see there's some wire missing or a cable missing, power line. So all you have to do is find that one wall outlet and then connect it to the other wall outlet. And we're going to do that on both sides. Jetpack around. If you don't have a jetpack, you can also go up into your catwalk and you would be able to just jump onto a constructor and find the wall outlets to get to. Now you also need to connect both sides together, and just for the time being, I'm going to grab one side and then just clip it all the way through to the other. Once you get to tidying up different things, you can redo your wiring to be in a better place. But now that is an entirely functional 4-place blueprint, all done in a couple of minutes. And the other thing you can do with this is just tidy up the design. So this is set to be expansive, so you can have this long walkway all the way down the middle. But once you get to the end of where you're at, you probably want to have access to get to the end over here to that catwalk and bring your catwalk stairs down. So what you can do is go ahead and grab a full foundation. Now this is set up so that the center of this, which has 2 half foundations, will match up to a full foundation on this side if you use the same coated concrete foundation. And we'll go over 3 this way, and then we'll go over 2 this way, and that will line it right up to the edge and allow access right into this catwalk. So once you do the coated, you also need to color it the same way too. I use carbon steel for this design, so you can put all that together. We'll just go ahead and grab the other foundation and put that in over here too. 3 on one side, 2 on the other, just like that. And carbon steel. For catwalks, you only have really a couple of options. One thing you can do is run a corner right on the side, and then you can run your stairs 2 down. That'll get you right down to the floor. The other thing you could do is to have this go out 1 more, and then do a corner. Depending on how your building is going to be set up, that will either crash into the outside wall. Maybe you like that better to have a view of the windows, or you want this to connect right to the side here. And then you have access to everything underneath and on top. The thing is, how this is set up, you can't connect these 2 catwalks together just because of the limitations of space. So if I were to do a corner per se and then zoop down a bunch of these, it's not going to line up perfectly to put a corner in. And that's just because of how these catwalks are set up to allow clearance for the machines and that kind of thing. There's some options you could do if you wanted to put like a foundation here in the middle and then have the catwalk come right over on top of it. That's something that you could do as well. But that's how the catwalks really are set up. The other thing you want to tidy up is some of these beams. So I only have these on one side of the blueprint just to help with keeping the redundancy down. So this side does not have the beams. So you can run one straight down right to the top of the foundation. And then if you go to, I'm already in diagonal mode, but if you go into diagonal mode, you can run one down into here too. Now what you'll probably want to do is remove a foundation if you have it out here. So that way you can snap right here into the middle of where these will connect. So just like that, and then snap it right into here. And then you can go ahead and pop in some beam connectors. These are all vertically, not at a diagonal like that. For all 4, just like that. And then you can bring your foundation right back in. And that tidies up that end and gives a good finished look for your logistics level entrance. And some other beams you can tidy up too are here at the end. You could run one all the way from the top, perhaps like this, or maybe even run it all the way down to the bottom. And run some beam connectors in here as well. And then your choice really if you wanted to do this on the other side maybe. I'm gonna go to default. And then say maybe you wanted to have some kind of walkway here so you can run a beam through both sides to connect these together. And that might give you some opportunity there to also run your power cable too. Alright, well, there's basically how this blueprint can be combined together and set up. And then some different things to tidy up. So just to show a couple of things, I ended up putting a beam, painted beam all the way across, and then ran my power along this beam. You could do some other cool things too, like embed the power right into the beam and not even see any of these wall outlets. And then on this side, I have my catwalk stairs going up, so you have access to get into the logistics little lit area, basement area. And then on the other side is simply having the catwalk stairs be right up against the wall. The only thing that maybe I wouldn't want to do this for is have the constructor arm crash into the whole thing. And then if you really wanted to, you could even make these catwalks come out a half more and then have these walkways go right into the center of the foundation here. And it's getting dark, so here's what this looks like at night with the blue ambient light. In my factory, I have on the ceiling, I have some ceiling lights put in just to give a little bit more of a warmer glow too. But I think this looks pretty cool just at night as it is with this light coming through. And then underneath the tunnels here too, this blue light really does set off the whole ambiance of having a basement level that's lit up with blue representing like the color of iron, the cold hardness of iron. So, and now we're running. We have iron ingots coming in, and I decided to make iron plates in this example because it uses a full Mark IV 480 belt to bring in iron ingots. And you can see all of the different product coming down through as my manifold system starts to load up. And I kind of like letting it load up on its own instead of loading everything. As you can see, like this side is a little more staggered and kind of random in terms of stuff coming down. I think it gives some more depth to that part of it, where this side is a little more, it was showing like really exactly at the same time where these machines all turn on at the same time. So it's really your preference on how you want to do that. And you can just load everything up before you hook up power and get everything running at the same time to have that same unison. Just depends on the look you're going for. So everything now is running out. I have a whole manifold system coming out. This is all Mark IV belts, even though I'm only producing 320 plates per minute. But this is running out, and then I'm just going into a sink for now. And down here, the movement for all of the iron ingots coming up, this randomness look over here, which I like. That's pretty cool. And then on the other side, most of these will end up being more of a synchronous look over on this side because they all started at the same time. And that's how it runs. And then just to finish it off as a quick example with some walls you can use, and then I only added just a little bit of depth with the glass to see inside of the factory, and then some concrete pillars that are painted in the carbon steel. That just gives it a little bit of a finished look that's still pretty boxy, so you can add a lot more depth with some cool designs. And then what I like about this setup with the 3x4 is I can have a ceiling on top and be able to put some lights or some beams or something else on the top of this, and then have a row for a glass ceiling if you've got that unlocked, just to give some natural light. I think it looks pretty well. Just very simple like this, just to enclose it. And you can see what I've done with this in my Ironworks factory tour, and go ahead and click on that link and check it out. And that's how you can get an iron factory up and running in no time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you like this type of content, and stay tuned for future demos of my blueprints in Satisfactory.
Be a fundamental change in prevailing viewpoints and practices across the Fix-It Corporation.